Hi, I'm Win, cycling instructor, and welcome to another episode of Practical Cycle Camping. We're about 1 week before Memorial Day 2025, and I'm planning on going on my first cycle camping trip of the year. This is one half of the Big Sur Loop since Highway 1 is closed. So what I'll do is I'll go from King City up to Carmel Valley back out to Pebble Beach. So I want to walk you through what I'm going to do to get my bike prepared, because I've made some changes to my panniers and they don't quite work. And plus I wanted to go over some of the other things with you as well. So stand by. And okay, so what we've got here, these are the types of pedals I use. I think this is an MKS, and they have toe clips on them rather than step-ins, because where I'm going to go, there might not be a road, as well as there might not be a trail either. So you might have to walk the bike or carry the bike. To service this pedal, there's a plastic nut here. You remove that and then you can add lubricant to it. However, to tighten up the races and things, you have to remove all of the screws. And there's 4 on each pedal here, on each side, 1 on each side, or 2 on each side. And so I'm not going to do that. Okay. I'll carry a simple GPS. So this is the Garmin 500. It's just a GPS tracker, but it has time, so that'll be good. For my phone, there's no cell phone coverage, but to keep my phone handy, I use this Night Eyes. This is pretty good because it's silicone rubber. I've had the rigid plastic ones that are nice, except they're not durable, so this is the one. I've got a number of frame pumps. These are the small ones. I've got the large full-size one also, so I will take a full-size frame pump. But you need to carry 2, because when you need it, one might not work. This one's kind of nice. This is a telescoping Zeffel pump, and so it pulls out. It's selectable to Schrader and Prestavalve. I'll probably take this one. I've had good success with it. These are the toe peaks. I have lots of toe peaks, as well as a rebuild kit. They're fair. And so if I want, I can take one of these. And I've got this one here that's a little toe peak that kind of pretends to be a floor pump too. I'm not going to take that. And I've got this one here. This is another toe peak. It's a dual action, so it pumps in both directions. I definitely will not take that, because when you're cycle camping in the middle of nowhere, you want high reliability and simplicity. This is not simple. This one looks good, but it's not that good. Oh, here's this one. This is a performance. I won't take this one because it's all plastic. Well, of course, my other frame bike pumps are plastic too, but this is a bidirectional, so I won't take that. All right, for my frame pumps, I couldn't get to my Silca Imperos. These are the ones that are currently on my bikes. This one is on my Rockhopper A1FS Pro, and it's a different length. This one I just took off my touring bike, and it's a Ravix. It's a full length, and so this one fits on the Stumpjumper, so I'll take this one. All right, so here are the frame pumps on the bike, and want to make sure that they have good connection at the end points, and then you have it strapped down. And then when you put it on the transit bus, make sure you take these off, because when you're going at highway speeds, these might fall off. And here's the frame pump, the Zeffel, and this strap is strapped on also with Velcro. And so when I put this on the bus, this is coming off. All right, and make sure you pre-test all of your pumps to make sure they hold pressure. If not, add some oil to it, or service it, or use an alternate. Right here, I've got some electrical tape, and there's electrical tape all over the bike here, so that if something breaks and I need to tape it up, I've got a supply of it all over. Oh, I want to point out, I also carry a bag of spare parts in here. So let me empty this out and show you what I've got. Okay, so in the bag of contents, I've got some lube. This happens to be muck off, chain lube, but they're all sealed up, so they're not going to leak. I've got some strips of tape here that I can use, and so this is like baggage claim tape, and it's pretty good. I've got some cable tips, as if I have will be able to install these if I need it. I've got some plastic ferrules, but those are optional. Here are a number of 5mm screws. These are always good to have. And here's a 6mm screw, and here's another 5 with a that's thin. Here's a longer 5. So carry a wide variety of these. Here's some extra brake pads. Make sure they fit your bike. Yeah, here's some zip ties and a couple of brake cables and a shifter cable, because there's nothing greater than having a shifter cable break and then you're stuck in high gear or low gear, depending on which gear it is. And I've got some plastic gloves. Okay, and of course carry the tools that you need to install these. Oh, I've got some extra brake adjusters, and one of each size, a large one and a small one. Okay, at Bike X, the last time I was there, they had a whole bunch of these brand new Race Face 7-speed 32 tooth cassettes, and so I thought, well, okay, I'll just put this on. The original had a 30 tooth. We'll use these on this trip. Okay, we're going to talk about this rack here. This is a Bontrager rack, and I like this because it's a 2-stage. There's a rack up here, and then this is where you attach the pannier and you connect it down here. The problem is when I put on my J&D panniers that I retrofitted with the Arcal clamp, doesn't work because the hook it mounts lower, so the hook doesn't engage here well. So I'm gonna have to just take this off and put on a different rack. Right? I could modify my my J&D and put in the hook connection, but I've had some problems with this on the last trip, is because the rack is far enough back with heavy load, the end of the pannier will go into the wheel. And so I'll just take this off and replace that. Let me explain what I mean. Here's the hook. We'll connect down here at the hole. This is with the Arcal, and this connection is farther down. And so we'll put this on, right? And during a big bump, the hook comes off, right? And so it doesn't really make connection there. So I can move this up, but that's a lot of work. I can't really shorten the hook, and so what I could drill some holes and put in the bar type, but what I'll do is I'll just replace this because of this overhang here from this spar to the end of the pannier. When it gets heavily loaded, will bend inward, right? And so I want to avoid that, so I'll use a different rack with a dog leg on it. The rack that I'm talking about is this one here. This is an Axiom rack, and you can see the dog leg comes out further. The rack will mount here and here. Okay, this is tubular stainless steel, I think, and it has dedicated adjustable spars here. It doesn't have a rear reflector mount on it. I could probably add a right angle here because of the hole, but let's just get this on. So for those of you watching the first time, to install a rack, I use a screw that goes from the inside out, and these are very long screws, and they're backed with a hex nut, and so you have enough thread sticking out so that you can have the spar attachment, and then you can put in a washer and a nut. And I do that on both sides. This makes it so that if this were to shear off, you can still remove the screw. On the non-drive side, same thing. The screw is installed from the inside out, backed with, in this case, not backed with a nut, probably because I didn't have one. And then you put on the rack, washer, and then a nut. Okay. On the drive side, though it's not installed, and I will install it, is you may not have space for a regular machine screw, so use a thin-headed nut and then run that through back with a nut, and then put in the spar, washer, and then lock it down with a nut. Let me find that screw. Okay, looking at my 5mm screw collection, it's this screw here that is a thin head, and this will clear your chain so it won't hang up. because if you use a regular cap screw, let's just grab one of these, a regular cap screw, this head is thick enough so it'll interfere with the chain. It'll get hung up when you go into the outermost chain. So the connection here is with a Phillips screwdriver. Okay, I learned that from Yost Brand. All right, so let's get the rack fitted. And so I'm shifted to the outermost gear, and we'll remove the tire and put it back on the rack here. There we go. So I've got some lube on the thin head screw, and we're going to screw this in here. These are great because makes it so you have the stud and it clears the chain. Okay, so that's that. And I don't think there's enough space, enough threads here for me to put a nut on it, but we'll try it. Right. Let's cinch this down a little bit. Now we have studs all around now, so mounting this is a lot easier. Let's see how this works. Yeah, there's not enough space here, not enough thread showing for me to put another nut on it, so I'll have to take this off. Okay. Guess I should have ordered the screws to be 6 millimeters longer. Okay, and then put a flat washer here. All right, and this is flush, so that's perfect. Let's come to the other side here. See if you can see that. Okay, that's right here. I don't think there is enough thread here exposed. Yeah. So we'll take off the flat washer on this side. This side is a bit on the short side. So let me back this out and I'll put in another screw that is 5 millimeters plus 1, so another 6 millimeters longer. Okay. So that's the original. Okay, let's get this one in. Okay. Guess if I made it 11 millimeters longer, I would be able to back it with a nut. All right, there we go. Okay, to attach this spars to the seat stay, here's a stud, here's the end, and to make this clamp, there is a screw up here that centers up the rotation in and out, and there's a 5mm screw here that we have to make that adjustment to tighten up this spar. And so we've got, we'll put on some nuts also, but let's see how this works here. So I'll loosen up this screw on the rack so I can make the pivot, and let's see if this works. And so this is a very long piece. I don't really want to have to cut this, but I can see that it's the rail is back here is in contact with the base. Let's see. There's no real good solution on this one unless we connect it in the inside, but that doesn't look good. Well, maybe I'll have to cut this. Okay, so here I cut off a fair amount off the rod, and I cut it cleaned off, filed it flat, and then chamfered the end, and then we'll reinstall it and then put the rubber end caps on. But we can dry fit this here just to make sure that it clears, and it looks like it should clear, I hope. So let's put this in. Yeah, it looks like it should come pretty close to it. Let's see. I can move this about. I can install this backwards also from the inside. I don't think that would work. Actually, it would. Perhaps. I don't know. I might need to bend this in the vise. Yeah. Let's try to put this one back on again. So installing racks is not straightforward. You know, people might think it is, but it's not. Yeah, let's try this. Let me get some washers. So even though it's like just a handful of screws, you need screws of various lengths. You have to fit it. It just barely fits. All right, well, let's try that. Let's see how this works. There might not be enough clearance to install the rubber end caps. Yeah, so, you know, before you get your heart set on a specific rack, you have to make sure that the rack fits on your bike and that the panniers fit on the rack. And it's clumsy because, you know, if you don't buy this in a bike shop, you don't really know. So if you order it online, you can most likely end up with a combination that doesn't work very well. All right, I can see there's more clearance on one side than the other, so I can try twisting this around. Okay. And let me tighten up this screw here And then what we'll do is we'll take it off the rack and put it on the bubble level and rotate the rack back and forth so that it's level to the ground. Okay, we'll leave this hex screw here and move this stand here. Right, put the bubble level on. You can see that it's lower in the back. Can you see that? It's higher in the back, lower in the front. So let's see if these nuts are loose enough. Thought they might be. Well, maybe I should loosen this up. Maybe that'll help. All right. And that looks pretty good. You can see, maybe see the bubble centered. All right, so then we'll tighten up these screws here. Let me center up the rack. Yeah, so this spar could probably get trimmed down even more, but in the future uses, I might find that I need to have this longer length because that distance is going to vary. It will vary on whatever bike you install this on. So let's tighten up these nuts here on the chainstay. See if this rubber cap will fit on this so that reduces vibration. And I don't cut myself later on. Okay, that looks pretty good. And let's see if I can tighten up the screws in here. Boy, that's kind of a lousy location. All right, well, I'll do that off camera. Put this spring rack, service rack back on. And we'll back this up. And let's grab my panniers. Okay, hook this on. Okay. I can see both cams lock in place, and that's good. All right. And there's much less bowing because this dog leg here sticks out further. So this pannier looks good. And this is the way I want it. So it's far enough back so I have nice heel clearance. Okay. One of the important tasks I need to do is rotate the handlebar, remove the access cap on these shifters, and spray some lube into the pawls on both the left and the right side to make sure that the shifting is smooth and they won't jam up. The saddle is well oiled. This is a Viscount saddle. It's leather. Now, I've had it for a number of years. It still has a few more years of life in it, but they're pretty comfortable on touring rides. So this is basically what I need to do to get this bike ready for the ride. And next time you see me, we'll be on the road.